Okay, so welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a recap of Bodyguard Season 1, Episode 6. This is actually the season finale. Okay, let's get right into it because it's a pretty long episode. So, it picks up with Bud receiving a call from Chanel, or a missed call message from Chanel. Now, if you remember in the last episode, they not so coincidentally ran into each other at some random coffee shop, right? And so they exchanged numbers and they made plans to meet up to have drinks. Okay, so he's checking his message. He has a missed call from Chanel. He calls her back. They make plans to meet up. Okay, so the first thing he does, he goes back to his place. He drops off the tablet, hides the tablet, and of course he grabs his gun. Okay, so we flash to Sampson. Sampson is arriving at work. She's getting an update from Sharma. And he mentions Luke Akins, which is the guy that was in the car with Chanel. Now, he was in the car when she got fired, and he was in the car when she left the coffee shop, when she got in the car at the coffee shop. And I don't think that what Bud doesn't know is that he was also the guy watching him when he left with Tom that day to go out for drinks. So that's Luke Akins. So now he's talking, so Sharma is talking to Sampson about it, and she's visibly getting kind of nervous, like, okay, so, and he's picking up on that, and so she started asking him, like, well, where did this line of questioning come from? Why wasn't I informed of this? And basically, where did this information come from? And so he tells her that it came from David. And so she kind of backed away and went to her office. So after that, Louise is sitting outside of her desk looking at this whole interaction. And she goes in, she's asking Sharma, what was that about? And Sharma starts to mention that, you remember the talk about organized crime having like some high-ranking officials in their back pocket. Now, he didn't mention Sampson, but based on her reaction, you can see his mind is kind of working like, okay, why would she get so out of sorts by the mere mention of this guy's name? Okay, so we flash to David. He's arriving at this bar, it's an upscale bar, to meet with Chanel for drinks. And so they order their drinks and they go downstairs to sit and wait for their drinks to be delivered. So they're kind of going, bantering back and forth. And he was saying, yeah, I heard some talk about you. She's like, oh, yeah, really? And he said, yeah, that, she was like, well, what did you hear? And he said that your money comes from offshore companies. And basically the gist of her response was, we can go back and forth all day, but I'm not going to give you any information about what you think you know. Like, we're not going to do that. And she wasn't nasty about it. She was just really like, okay, oh, is that what you heard now? So they started talking about something, and she was like, well, it depends on who you ask. Either they feel I'm too deceptive to be one thing, or not deceptive enough to be something. It was something, I forget, I can't remember the whole back and forth. Sorry about that. But and then he was like, so, well, the gist is that you're deceptive. And so she didn't say anything. And the next thing you know, three guys come from out of nowhere and kind of jams him up. So it was a setup. And so now she got up and she walks away. And now, I guess the guy, I don't know if he's the head guy, but it's a guy who's has some kind of power. He's now sitting down, and there's two huge guys standing on either side of David. And he's asking him about his questioning about SPL or something. I wonder if that was in reference to, if you remember the last episode, he was talking about buying some guns, and the guy said he would look into it for him. And so he started asking him about his Ruger, the gun that he actually had on him, and he was asking him about the rounds. And Dave was making the connection. He was like, oh, so were you the one that put blanks in my gun the last time? And so the guy kind of looked at him for a minute, and next they jammed him up. I think one of the guys hit him and snatched him up, and now they're taking him outside. The guy was like, oh, excuse my friend, he's had too much to drink, that whole thing. So they're going outside. And so we're back at the office. The officer is still looking into Andrew and trying to see all of his associates. And so he finds something interesting, and Louise starts looking at the file, and it mentions his connection to David Budd. So now it's like, oh shit. Sharma never trusted David from the beginning for no reason that, I mean, can I say it's for no reason? From his perspective, his point of view, someone has been doing a very good job at basically making David look incompetent, or, making it look like he has some involvement in some shady dealings. Okay, so him as a detective, I don't necessarily think that his dislike or distrust of David is personal per se, but this was just everything that he needed to feel vindicated of his feelings about David. So Louise sees that, she goes and of course tells Sharma, and now she's feeling like she's been played. And on top of finding out that he has a connection to Andrew and he didn't tell them, they also have CCTV footage of him going back to Julie's apartment after the forensics team had, gone through with him before. And based on the fact that they're saying, well, he was only there for a few minutes, now they're saying, well, he went back because he knew exactly what he was looking for. Now, even though he left, he didn't leave anything in his hand. They're assuming that he now has the tablet and that he's been lying to them this whole time. So now, it's like now you have SO15 on your case, and then you have the organized crime people on the other side of you. So it's like, now it's like, okay, let's wait to see who else is going to pile on. After finding out this information, of course, Sharma and Louise and all the rest of the police officers, now they're en route to pick up David. So David is now, he wakes up, he's in some place, he's battered and bruised, his blood coming from his head, and he now has some explosive device strapped to him. So now he's trying to figure out the style, I guess, to make of this explosive device. And he's able to get up and walk out, and he walks out into the street. He grabs a blanket or something he can grab to cover himself. So now he's walking down the street looking like some vagabond with blood and shit coming out of his head. He looks a freaking mess. He's trying to get someone to allow him to use their cell phone. Of course, people are running, looking at him crazy. Eventually, he comes up to this woman. Of course, she's kind of looking at him. He identifies himself as a police officer. He calls, and they take his information and say that the police are en route. Now, of course, Sharma and Louise are already en route to pick him up. They're already out looking for him. They'd already been to speak to his wife. They'd actually picked his wife up to take her to the station to ask her more questions. And so now they're all en route. And so the officer on the phone said, okay, give the phone back to the citizen. So she got the phone. Now it's off speakerphone. So the lady, you don't know what she said to her, but the lady is now looking at him crazy and kind of walking away so he can see something is up based on the woman's facial expression. So he slips away and ducks behind the building. And that's when all these police cars come flooding up. Louise and Sharma included. And also, Craddock. All these episodes, I finally get the woman's name, Craddock. That's his supervisor. And so after he see his wife in the backseat of the car, that's when he comes out from hiding. And of course, all the, SWAT, the whole thing got guns on him, and they're like, put your hands up. He's still covered. He was trying to explain to them that he can't. And then he takes the blanket off. They see the gun. Of course, I see the bomb. It's chaos. People are like back up and clear the area. And so now they have walked him into an area that's less populated. And so he's like in some. It's not a park. It's just some area. And so Craddock starts talking to him about how he needs to give himself up. And he's explaining to them that he was set up. He woke up. This thing was detached to him. He doesn't know what is going on, how this happened. And she was like, well, you just need to give up. And he's like, well, I want to. I can't because this thing is attached to me. It's a dead man trigger. If you kill me, then it's going to go off. If you try to remove it, it's going to go off. It's like, I'm just stuck. She's like, well, David, you've been lying to us, for a while. And I'm trying to help you. You need to give yourself up. It's like she was there just for show, just to say I was there and I talked to him. But she wasn't really listening to anything he had to say. Like, I can't do anything. And so she basically said, well, I tried. And so she gave Louise, I guess, the radio or someone in radio. And then she walks off. So she can write up that I was there and I tried to help this guy and he wouldn't accept my help. Okay, whatever, bitch. Anyway, so then they decided to go get his wife because they think, having his wife there was going to have him give up. And so Louise is standing there. She's pissed because she feels like she's manipulated and lied to. And he's explaining to her the reason I didn't tell you is because I think they've already come to the conclusion that it's an inside job. And he's like, it's not me. It's for somebody else. I was trying to catch the person. I had nothing to do with Julia's death. Now, funny enough, we haven't seen Julia in all these episodes. There was no funeral. There was no body. There was no nothing. So, we're still under this, guys, that that she died. It's just, so, and Louise is like, she's really pissed, and she's like, you've been lying to us, you've been bullshitting us at the end of the day. So Sharma arrives, he's basically like, yeah, that's fine. He starts talking to Louise like, yeah, we need to keep things cool. We calm our heads now, like, bitch, like, why are you yelling at this man with this explosive device to piss him off, right? Even though he's not the bad guy, but at this point they don't know the optics of it, they don't really know, and then you're like almost antagonizing him. So he starts talking to them, and Sharma was like, okay, what? He was like, I didn't say anything because it was part of security forces, and then his wife is there and asks him to give up. He's like, I can't. He's trying to tell her to leave, and she's not leaving, and they don't really want her to leave because they feel like if her being there is preventing him from doing something that, he's not really going to do, but of course, again, they don't know that, and he starts talking about the gun and the blanks. And he's like, I'm telling the truth. And then because remember, after he had shot himself, she was there, and he was trying to figure out about the blanks, and they talked about it. So she was able to tell him, but then she also had to tell him that he tried to commit suicide after Julia died. And so now they're like, okay, that's all fine and good, but we just learned that you're suicidal, and now you're sending him with this bomb. And he was like, that's not the point. That's not the point. And so he's saying he found the compromise, which is, I guess, is file that was given to Julia by Lone Cross, and he has it. And now at this point you have Steven, he's in his office, and so he's able to like tap into the security camera, so he now sees everything that's going on, he can hear everything that's going on. And so Sharma was like, okay, so where is it? And so he said, it's in my flat in the light fixture. And so Steven is like, okay, he hits up Lone Cross, it's like, okay, we found it, go get it. So then something happens where they switch channels. Like they were in sync, and so Steven's like, well, what is going on? They're switching channels. What's going on? So now Steven can't hear what's being said. And so now they're talking like Sharma, he was like, I only said that because I know that the security officers are listening, and I didn't want to do that. So they've now sent officers to his place. So Long Cross has already gotten there. It was a booby trap. I don't know, some kind of acid or some kind of liquid that when he pulled the light fixture away, it sprayed in his face. So now he's half blind, he's screaming. The other police officers are down there. They've taken him into custody. So now David feels vindicated, like, okay, there's something else going on here. It's not me. And so he hears Sharma say, okay, one person taken into custody. And so now they're at his place to get this this tablet. And of course Steven is pissed because now he knows like his opportunity to get this thing has now gone up in smoke. So yeah, a very intense scene. I'm like, oh my god, they're about to shoot this man in the head, because they did get the order to take the kill shot. And so it's like, oh my god, don't tell me he's gonna get to this point and he's gonna end up dead. Like, what? Come on now. I'm telling you, I'm gonna be so mad if the ending is it's lame. It's just ridiculous. Okay, so they've taken Lone Cross into custody, and other officers are there, but they still don't know where he hit the tablet. So he's now standing there. He's been standing there for a minute. His thumb has been taped down on this on the trigger, and so now he's just like begging them to help him and to get this bomb off of him. And so so he requested to talk to his wife, and so he's basically very apologetic about how things went in their relationship and their marriage, and how he could have been a better husband, it could have been a better father, and how he just didn't want to be honest about how the war had affected him and the whole thing. And so around this time, an officer steps up, and he offered to examine the device. And so he walks up. Of course, he has a team of officers behind him, and he's examining the device, and he was able to get the cover off. He's trying to see how everything is connected. And so after seeing that, he says that he needs to confer with his colleagues to find out what the next move needs to be. And of course, he's like, wait a minute. So they start to walk away. He's like, oh, wait a minute, where are you going? And so around this time, Sampson arrives. And so she starts asking David questions about the bomb and the bomb maker and who the next target is going to be. Like, they're still treating him like he's involved and like have this information. He's like, well, I don't know. Like, what are you talking about? I don't know. He's still trying to explain to them, like, I woke up in this bomb. Look at me. Like, do I look like he's standing all fucked up and blood running down his face, as you see in the photo behind me. Like, he's like, does he look like he's just this coiffed, guy standing there, or this put together guy? He looked like he had the shit beat out of him. He's standing there looking like, he's like, I don't know. I woke up like this, basically. And so Sampson gave the order for everybody to move back, because at this point I think they're getting ready to just shoot him and be done with it. And so his wife runs over to him. So now they have a innocent civilian in the crossfire. So now they pull back, like, okay, we can't do this now. He wanted her to leave, but she was like, no, I know that you're innocent, and if I leave, they're gonna shoot you. And so he decided that he's going to go to his place. He's going to go and get the evidence. And so he starts walking. And of course, they can't shoot him because they don't know if that's going to trigger the explosive. And so now they're following him where he's going. He's not, obviously, he's just walking. She's walking alongside him. And so you flash to Sampson. So she's back. She's at the office, and she's meeting with Mike. And they start talking. And then Steven arrived. She was like, well, wait a minute, I didn't know you were going to call the security services. And she started telling Steven that, okay, well, we have Long Cross in custody, and now we're questioning him about his employment, and basically his mother, like, we're going to get to the bottom of who this guy is. And Mike steps up and was like, oh, well, we're all here, we got to play nice. And so she was like, a woman died, talking about Julia, and he could have just got confessed something to do with it. And, Mike is like trying to take Steven's side. And he wanted to have basically Long Cross released. And so Julia, now she's seeing the connection between the two of them. And so now she's like, you know what? And she was like, a woman's life was taken, and it's our job to investigate, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I think that the reason you guys are basically trying to stay just a little cool is because there's something on this encrypted thing, this compromise, this tablet, this document, that incriminates the two of you. It's going to be extremely embarrassing, especially if it gets out to the media. And so Mike was like, I think we're going to continue this without you. And she was like, I don't give a shit. She grabbed her shit and was like, it's my job to investigate, and my office's job to investigate, and this is exactly what we're going to do. And he walked out. Okay, so we flash back to David, and so they arrive at this place. Of course, they've already evacuated the building, so they're surrounding the place. And he sends Vicky and his wife to get a shovel, because he buried the tablet. And so she digs the tablet up and the gun that has the proof as far as the blinks, so they can trace the blinks and the whole thing. And so she was like, well, I can't go and give them the evidence, because then that's going to give them a clear shot of you. And so he worked something out with Sharman, like, okay, she'll bring you the evidence if you give me the chance to disarm this bomb on my own. And so he's talking to David Chung. Daniel Chung, it was the officer who stepped up to examine the bomb initially. And so Sharman turns to him and was like, are you okay with this? He was like, well, not really, but, that's fine. So they brought in the robot and gave him a kit so that he can. And so there's a camera on the robot, so Daniel is able to communicate with David from a safe distance. So she goes down and gives them the evidence, and now Daniel is talking him through on like how to clip this and cut this and da. Okay, so of course it's a very intense moment, because he now has to try to get his finger off the trigger without setting it off. He was able to do that. He started clipping things and cutting wires, and it's a whole. And during this whole thing, you can see him getting kind of hazy, like he's about to have a panic attack, but he manages to work his way through it, and then eventually, I guess he gets to the point where he realizes the bomb isn't in danger anymore. So he jumps up and he runs off, and by the time they know what's what, he's nowhere to be found, and the bomb is on the ground. So they have the bomb that they can now examine, because before the bombs obviously would explode, and so they didn't have a lot to go on. Now they have this intact bomb that they can now examine to figure out how, where the materials are coming from and how they're putting these bombs together. And so now David is on the run. Steven calls, Mike calls Steven, like, well, where is he? What is he doing? And Steven was like, I don't know. I don't have that information right now. And so now they are shooting bricks, because, yes, he gave them the tablet, but he could have copies of that information anywhere that can still be released to the public. So, oh boy. Okay, so David is on the run. So where does he go? He ends up at Chanel's place. So he breaks into her place, waits for her to come home. He ends up getting her to help him basically flip on Luke Aiken. And so so they're following him, and they follow him all the way to Lorraine Craddock's place, which is his supervisor. So he runs up and knocks one guy down and pulls a gun, and it's a whole thing, and he has the gun on Aiken and asks him why he killed Julia, and Aiken was basically like it was business. It was all for business. So he's pissed, and you think he's about to pull the trigger and blow this dude's heads off, and Craddock was like, no, don't do it. And then Chanel runs out, get out of the car, and is like, don't do it, it's not worth it. Okay, so he's now back at SO15. Lorraine walks in, and basically like they got the fingerprints off the blanks, and it was linked to one of Aiken's associates, and he's basically been cleared of everything. And so now they're sitting down and watching the interrogation. So Sharma and another officer is interrogating Chanel and Lorraine Craddock. And so Lorraine was basically like, she's been the inside guy person. She's been feeding them information that they thought would be helpful to their organization. Basically, David was appointed as Julia's protection officer for the sole purpose of making him the fall guy. And the reason is because Julia wanted to transfer power from, I guess, the police to the security office, which has more authority and are not as easily corruptible. And so by doing that, they wouldn't have had ready access to people like they had to people like Craddock or just regular police officers, because their policing would no longer be in their hands. It would be in an office that has more authority. And so that was the whole thing of why she was killed. And Aiken, everybody pointed the finger. Aiken even said that he was the one who planted the bomb. Craddock said she had leaked, she was the one leaking Julia's itinerary. She leaked her security details as far as how they were going to go about securing the building. And so Aiken kind of knew he was able to work around that to get that bomb where it needed to be. And so after all that, and so they asked him, well, what about David's children? What about her school? And then she had the nerve to say, well, no, I didn't do that. I would never do that to a fellow officer. So you just set this man up as a terrorist. He's about to get his head blown off. His family's in protective custody. But leaking where his children go to school is just, that's too far. That's too far. But getting him involved in this for the sole purpose of making him the fall guy, okay, I did that. So, like, bitch, chat please. And so now David and Louise are looking at each other like, okay, well, if she didn't leak the information, then who did? And so he thought about it. He was like, there was only one other person who knew about my children. And so now they're back to interrogating Nadia. And no more is this meek and mild woman scared, this little scared, fragile looking woman. Now there's this smug, kind of cocky, like I pulled the wool over all your eyes. And that's because, me being a woman and me being, I guess Muslim or whatever, you automatically saw me as this victim, as this frail, simple-minded woman that's going with the flow. When in fact, I'm an engineer. I actually built all of the bombs. I built the bomb and went to the school. I built the bomb that killed Julia. And so Louise was like, but you didn't set to detonate the bomb on the train. And she was like, well, I atoned for that by helping them in other ways. So, I mean, they didn't really get into the extent of all the other stuff she did aside from building the bombs. But she said, but you picked out Longcross. She was like, I picked him out because David wanted so bad for it to be him. And so, I just basically told him what he wanted to hear. Now, that doesn't make Longcross innocent, but as far as what she was saying, as far as having to do with the bombs, of course that was wrong because she just admitted that she built the bombs and she was the one, as far as that was concerned, that was all her. And so, he's sitting there in shock, and Sharma was like, you know what, don't worry about it, man. She pulled the wool over all of our eyes. We were all fooled. And so now it's coming out that Nadia, this lady who was seen as this victim on this train that he had helped in the first episode had a hand in a lot of the stuff that was going on and was a willing participant. She may have started off as a reluctant participant, but then she became, she got a kick out of it, I guess. Okay, so we go to David and Sampson. So he goes to meet with her in her office, and she's watching a news story of this, this document being leaked to the news. And basically, in the end, she was like, all these people, they're going to all have to step down. So all these people, Stephen, the prime minister, I don't know if she said Mike is going to stay on, but there are going to be some people in some high positions that are going to have to step down. And so she was like, we haven't decided what we're going to do with you yet. Some people say that you're a hero. Other people say you should be kicked off the force for what you did. But before any of that is made, there's one thing you really need to do. And then you see him, he goes into an office and he sits down. And he finally sits down with the therapist and deals with his shit. And so, next you see him, talking to Vicky. He goes into the house to talk to Vicky to spend time with the kids. And she was like, it's one step at a time. It's going to take some time, but you're moving in the right direction. And so, he gets the kids and gets them all, get them all in the car. And then she comes out to talk. And he's like, there's room for one more. And she's like, really? So she goes in to get her purse and she jumps in the car and they drive off. And so, okay, I have some noisy neighbors. I don't know if you heard that. But great episode. I thought there was going to be a little twist at the end. I was like, oh my God, is this car going to explode as they drive off? Like, I thought it was going to be like something that's going to shake things up for next, if they have another season. I didn't even check to see if there's going to be a second season. But, really good. I really enjoyed the series. And yeah, it was, wow. Yeah, so I'm happy with the ending. So I'm going to end this here, and I will talk to you guys in one of my next reviews. So hopefully it comes back for season 2, but just have to check and see what's going on with that. But bye.